I like
you're
to
just
snack.
kind of you have like a
I'm a
little
snack
like you have like a little
person.
vibe. You're playing music. You like
Mhm.
have like maybe like a little like spritz or something like that.
I
And
don't
I'm
do
like,
it that often. You
No,
make it sound
no,
like every
no.
time you come home from work, I'm like slinging some booze.
Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, the podcast that talks about all things couples travel, including destinations, tips, advice, and more. I'm Chris,
I'm Kat.
and this is episode number 207.
Yes, and it took us a while to prep for this one. Not particularly this episode, but for the podcast.
We did like a solid 2 hours of podcast brainstorming.
And prep work, yeah.
Yeah, starting with a countries of the world quiz.
I feel like that was just your excuse to do a countries of the world map quiz.
I like to do that every week.
I know you do.
I don't know. I always have loved geography though. Like
No.
if there were still a cartographer career,
Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
I mean, I think people do make maps.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like an explorer sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Like exploring the world.
Like
I guess
getting-
that's like traveling.
Yeah, that it is.
You know, I'm out of I'm out of ideas at this point.
No, you're really good at geography. I am too. It's just when it comes to naming countries, I always get hung up on like the Polynesian country, like the countries like in Oceania, like the small islands, and then
Like Fiji and Samoa and Tonga and Vanuatu and Tuvalu
I
and
remember-
Kiribati and
I remember-
Micronesia.
okay, I remember Micronesia and like Kiribati,
Solomon Islands.
and I always forget the Solomon Islands.
Nauru.
That one.
Palau.
Oh, I should know Palau. Anyway,
Marshall Islands.
I know. And then like West Africa, and then
Where in West Africa?
like right around like, because I know Sierra Leone, and it's like all these other like smaller countries near it.
Senegal, Gambia, Cape Verde,
Yeah,
Burkina
all of
Faso,
those. We get it.
Guinea-Bissau.
Okay. And then like a couple of Caribbean islands throw me off. Like I forget which ones.
Which ones?
I don't know.
Barbados.
Are you going to just start listing?
Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda?
We get it. No. I mean, it's like whenever I see the map again, I'm like, oh, I should have known that. You know what I mean? But
This
whatever.
is my problem, is that my head is filled with random knowledge.
Hot air. What?
You know? That is quite the comment for, I'm going to change some of my questions here and have them be a bit more targeted, Catherine.
Okay.
No, but like I have random knowledge that isn't necessarily applicable to a lot of situations.
Yeah, I get that.
And like,
Because I get like hyper focused on certain topics and I will like heavily research them. And then like travel, for instance, or cartography, I suppose, as you like to call it. And but then like nobody else cares about it, and it's something I could answer on like a random trivia at like a random time if it's the topic or whatever, but it isn't useful in any other way other than that.
yes.
Yeah.
And I will, like, if there's a topic that I care deeply about or something that I know a lot about, and someone is talking about it, I have to be like very careful to not like dive in, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Wine is one of those. Like, I feel like that is a topic that is very easy to come off as like a snob.
It is, even though you could be well, and I feel like travel can be that way too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like there are times where like I get excited to talk about travel with people, and like that can be a very fun conversation, and then there are also times where like I don't talk about it a lot because I realize that like if you haven't been there, it's like I don't
Yeah.
know, hard for them to like relate to it or whatever.
I know
or
what
they
you mean.
or they don't care. That's also another thing. I realize
Sure.
some people just don't care, and I'm like, okay, well I probably shouldn't ramble on. Yeah, but then there are people that have been like, oh yes, I've been here at least 20 times, and like then they come off this like attitude, I guess, of like knowing more, and I'm like, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed this place. Can I just talk about that? Not like
Yeah.
Oh, I've been there more times or whatever. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I think that, like, I run into that a little bit with, like, people being like, hey, like, do you have any, like, trips planned for the year?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, I know exactly what trips we have planned for the year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we have a few. And they're like, oh, like, going anywhere good? And I'm like, yeah, we're taking a trip with my in-laws later this year. And they're like, oh, where to? And I'm like, South Africa and Zimbabwe. And they're like, whoa. And I'm like, like, this is why I didn't answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
That's
know.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Different strokes for different folks.
folks.
What was your highlight this week?
Well, today happens to be Professor's 7th birthday.
That is
as
my
we're recording
highlight
it.
too.
Well, I mean, he's such a little light in our lives. He's sitting behind me as we speak in our podcast studio, aka the extra bedroom office area. / professor's extra bedroom. This is like his day bed. We have a guest bedroom bed that is essentially where he naps all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've had
He's
him.
7.
He's 7. We bought him some like gravy snacks for his birthday.
I am not looking forward to that. You purchased that, and I think it's probably going to smell.
The birthday bubs.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to chat about?
No. Do you?
We
wanna...
have kind of a fun series coming up in
Yes.
the podcast. We're not starting that today, but I will say what we are going to chat about today.
Sure.
So previously, all the way back in episode number 123, we came up with some off-the-cuff travel questions where Kat came up with 5 questions, I came up with 5 questions, and we asked them to each other. And we hadn't done kind of like a not a get to know you episode, but like I guess something that like lends more into like who we are in a while. So we thought that it would be a fun time to revisit that topic, and we have some more off the cuff questions to ask each other. Do you want to go first?
Yes.
Hit me with it. Did you have
got
your
them.
notes turned upside down so that I could not peek?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Well, because
Okay.
I have big handwriting, so you could probably see it from over there.
I cannot see it,
Okay.
but I do appreciate the mystery.
Well, always the mysterious one.
All right, hit me with number 1.
Number 1. So we're asking each other 10 questions, 5 each. We will also answer our own questions, right?
No.
Yes, we are.
You can if you'd like, but I will choose not to. Go ahead.
Okay. My number 1 question is what is the best resort that you've ever visited and why?
What do you mean by resort?
It could be a hotel, a resort, like for example, how we stayed at an all-inclusive or like any place that we have stayed at that is not home, essentially.
A lodge could be a resort.
Yes.
You don't sound confident.
Yeah, no, it works. It counts.
That's a good question.
Creme de la creme, the best one.
Wow.
Do you want me to answer?
No. I'll answer first.
Okay.
The best? The first thing that came to my mind was Monet Boutique in Siem Reap.
I think that's definitely one of the best hotels, for sure. Because I was also going to follow it up if it was a lodge, like what would be your favorite hotel? So
yeah, I think that
think
is my
that-
top.
So why was
one.
that your top?
I enjoyed the grounds.
Mm-hmm.
I just really enjoyed like the amenities. I enjoyed the food. I enjoyed the room. That was, I still think that is my top bed that I have ever slept in outside of home to this day.
I had one of the best night's sleep I've ever had in that bed. But
I
was
did
also
as well.
Exhausted.
Well, it was also like an incredibly firm bed. And
Yeah.
I love the feeling of like a very, very, very firm mattress. Like put down a stone slab. That's what I
want to say
like.
I slept a solid 10 hours our first full night or second night there. Like I fell asleep at like 8 p.m. because we had been up since like 3 or 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning to watch the sunrise. And I got up at 6 a.m. the next day and I did not wake up at all in the night, which is extremely rare for me. Usually I like wake up at some point in the night for a little bit.
Yeah. Monet was the first thing that came into my mind.
I also like all the antique stuff everywhere.
Yes,
like
and how each room was dedicated to like a different monarch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And different time period of their history. Obviously not
Right.
the bad parts, but
yes,
but it was a very beautiful. Yeah, it was a stunning.
It was like
a stunning
ornate,
hotel.
ornate furniture. It was very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
What was the way that you answered the question?
I was gonna say probably Simbavati River Lodge.
Okay.
As far as lodges go, because I think the service was fantastic. The food was really good. The tents, like you stay in a glamping tent with like an indoor and outdoor shower and like a great bed. I thought that was a comfy place to stay too. But it's right along the riverbed, so you can see a lot of wildlife around there, and yeah, just great attention to detail. I love the big viewing deck that you could see animals from. Yeah, and I think the whole experience of staying there was probably a pretty top-notch place.
As far as lodges go, I will agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about non-lodges?
Like a hotel?
Did you answer that question for yourself?
This one is really tough because, I don't know. I feel like we're lucky enough to have stayed in some really great hotels. I think Rumi Wasi in Cusco was really lovely because it was built into the old stone of the place, and the views were just insane because you have views of the mountains and the city. Yeah. Okay. I think I might go with that one or not Playa Niquesa. Oh my gosh, Finca Rosa Blanca. Finca Rosa Blanca was a gorgeous boutique hotel.
That was also very
in the
nice.
Central Valley. It's on a coffee farm. Absolutely stunning.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you had to match my personality to a country, what would it be?
Whoa. Okay. Oh my goodness.
There's a lot of different ways you could take this.
I'm just going with the first one that popped in my mind.
Okay.
New Zealand.
You've never been there.
No, but like, are you talking about a place we've been? But like, this is what I picture.
Yeah, that's fine.
New Zealand being like, especially the South Island, this adventure capital where there's bungee jumping and there's, you can skydive and bungee jump. There's fancy wine because you love wine. And
I have never skydived or bungee jumped.
Yeah, but you're like a very you like taking like risky, you like adventure and adrenaline junkie things. And I just feel like that seems to be, there's great hiking there. There's the hella hiking. There's like, you have like Queenstown's like the adventure capital of the world, and like a lot of adventurous things that you can do and some cool sights and wine. And I just feel like all of that sort of wraps up into like you. So I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind for me.
That's a good answer.
Do you want to know like a country we've been to? What I think your personality is?
No. If that's what comes to mind, that's what comes to mind.
So
that's what, and this drives you nuts, and I know it drives you nuts. But when you were talking about like the skydiving and the bungee jumping and this like adrenaline and adventure, I just like to do things that like teeter on the edge of irresponsible.
Wonderful.
Do you know what I mean though? Like I always like to put myself in those situations where like there's a chance that something bad could happen.
No, I mean, I think you're more of like an adrenaline junkie / you like to push yourself outside your comfort zone quite a bit. Like that's why you run like ultra marathons and stuff. But like
it makes me feel alive.
Yeah. And I definitely think that like New Zealand, especially like there's lots of great hikes, like multi-day hikes and treks and stuff that would be really cool. Yeah. I just see that as like you would love to just like do the adrenaline stuff, also do the hiking, get out in nature, there's beautiful nature everywhere. And then there's wine.
I like that answer. I would have also accepted
Marlborough Sound, all that stuff. You would just like geek out over it. So I feel like it's sort of everything. That's you. I like that.
I also would have accepted Montana.
Well, that's not a country.
Oh, yeah, I did say country, didn't I? Yeah. America. For you...
Ohio.
For you, I put down Italy.
Really?
France would have been the cop-out answer.
Okay, that's fair.
I put down Italy because you love a little aperitivo.
I do love...
You do. Like, the amount of times that I will come home and, like, you have, like, a little bit of, like, cheese and olives and, like, that kind of stuff set up. And, like, you're, like,
I like
you're
to
just
snack.
kind of you have like a
I'm a
little
snack
like you have like a little
person.
vibe. You're playing music. You like
Mhm.
have like maybe like a little like spritz or something like that.
I
And
don't
I'm
do
like,
it that often. You
No,
make it sound
no,
like every
no.
time you come home from work, I'm like slinging some booze.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But like it will. The reason why I chose Italy was because like it'll be like
She
a
likes
Tuesday.
aperitivo.
No,
That's all-
it'll
that's
be
the
like a
only-
Tuesday, and you'll be like, we could make like a little cheese board or something.
Yeah,
And I'm
I
like,
love
you know
to
what? I
snack.
like that. Yeah. So that's
I'm
why
like
I chose
the
Italy.
weirdo that like I eat standing up whenever you're not around.
This drives me nuts, like a rat over the sink.
No, I stand up like at our kitchen counter and my preferred meal would probably just be like a various combination of different snacks. Such as a cheese board or veggie platter or something, and like hummus and chips and salsa. Like that's just like my favorite stuff. So I could just like eat that as like a meal. And that's what I do when you're not in town. That's what I have for dinner.
Why do we not
snacks.
do that normally? Because I could very easily make like hummus and veggies and like that type of stuff at dinner rather than like a dice an onion and mince 8 cloves of garlic. And like
that's
that
what
being
you
the first,
like.
you know what I mean? No, I could do the other thing too.
You're not a snacker. You never snack.
I don't like to snack.
Your
but
snacks are like you're like an ingredient snacker where you'll just like get some nuts and snack on them.
what is an ingredient snacker?
It's like you eat just like I guess like
Ingredients.
yeah, instead of like snack bars or something.
Like Twinkies.
well, no, I don't know.
I get what you're saying. I could do like some like hummus, olives,
Mhm.
that sort of stuff for like a dinner. That
Mhm.
would be very good. What's your second question?
Is that all you have to say about Italy? Is I like aperitivo and that's literally it? Like I had this very thoughtful answer of like all these things that you like and you're interested in.
I'll be honest, that was
that was
like
it.
France came to my mind first, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. That would be too easy.
Mm-hmm.
So then I thought about Italy, and I was like, well, I was thinking about the aperitivo, and then I was like, girl loves pasta, and then I was also thinking about how you're just like a huge balsamic person.
I do. That's why we went to Modena, was literally to try balsamic vinegar.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I remember how I kind of like felt in Italy, and I feel like that at home a lot too with you, and I was like, maybe that's just you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. What's your next question?
Okay.
Pasta pal.
Pasta pal. Well, piggybacking off of that, what's the best food destination in the world?
Italy, hands down.
I put the same thing.
Very easy to answer that. What would be the second one?
Thailand.
I would agree with that as well. What would be the third one?
Oh crap. I would say the U.S. We got a lot going on. Like you have Southern cuisine. You have like
I'm going to disagree.
Tex-Mex.
I'm going to disagree with you on this.
I'm sorry, a hot dish. You're from the Midwest.
What on earth is a hot dish?
Oh, you're not from Minnesota.
What is a hot dish?
It's like a tater tot cheesy.
What?
I don't know. It's some sort of casserole. I don't mind casseroles. In fact,
Here's a hot take. I think that the U.S. does not crack the top 15 countries in the world for food.
I heartily disagree. Now, I do think the Tex-Mex and Southern cuisine is like carrying a lot of it, but like, cause like you have like Creole cuisine in like Louisiana, and then you have like, fried chicken and like,
I'm just saying.
like so many great things with Southern cuisine, and then you have like Tex-Mex.
I think that there's a lot of countries that like use spice a lot better rather than just like a smidgen of salt and pepper.
Yeah, but that's like, I think that I'm talking about like Tex-Mex and Southern cuisine is like
Sure.
carrying the, is like,
But like if I want Tex-Mex, like why don't I just get like Mexican cuisine?
that's true, but it's different.
It is different.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're both in agreement that Italy and Thailand are the top two.
Yes, in Italy it's, lots of pasta, pizza,
Oh my gosh, Italy was so
desserts, cheeses. It is pretty delicious. And then Thailand,
good. Yeah,
so
Khao soy.
many khao soy, noodle dishes, curries,
that's it. Khao soy.
mango sticky rice, coconut ice cream. Oh, I miss it. Anyway, yeah, best food destinations. Yep.
We kind of started talking about this actually at the top of the episode, but what is the most difficult aspect of travel?
The most difficult aspect?
Yes.
Flying. Like getting there. The burden of getting to your destination and coming home from your destination, I think, is like the more challenging part.
Okay.
Like, are you thinking like logistically, or are you like...
I mean, however you want to take the question.
That's the first thing that came to mind for me. Was like, well, I don't love flying. Like, it's just a means to get there at like a decent amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you're in a cramped seat. You're eating like not that great of food. It's hard to sleep. Like, I don't sleep on planes, and it's just an uncomfortable experience that we just... And then there's security lines, and you have to show your passport and like your tickets like a million times. And there's always a fear that I've forgotten something that I need. And then making sure everything is like all put together before you, like, I don't know. For me, that's just like the most stressful, especially if we're going to a country that we have to have a visa for, because then I'm like, oh crap, I hope I did everything right. Even if I did everything right and know I did everything right, I'm still going to be anxious until we get through customs and everything. And they're like, yep, you're good to go. Because for whatever reason, I'm like, they're going to look at this and be like, absolutely not, or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Mine that I wrote down, and this is probably different for you, because I think that your world is a little bit different than like the average traveler's world. Okay. Because just through your job, you interact with people who are very, very interested in travel. Mm-hmm. Right? Which I think is different than the general population.
Sure.
So I wrote down that the most difficult aspect of travel is having something that's so deeply important to you that is hard to comprehend for others.
Oh, that's fair. It is hard to like...
It's hard to talk about it unless there are other people that like
are interested,
understand it. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it would be, I mean, even like I've seen this elsewhere, right? Like where, like this past summer is probably like a perfect example, mm-hmm. right? Like it's probably a lot easier to chat with someone about your trip to Hilton Head or mm-hmm. Myrtle Beach than it is about your trip to Uganda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Like,
well, but it's like that for a lot of different things. For running, I'm sure people's eyes glaze over when you get into details if they're not a runner.
So that's what I was going to...
people that are obsessed with sports, you know, and I don't really care about sports, like, at all.
Right. So I was going to kind of say, like, running is also that. Like, it's just like another thing, and it'll be like, oh, like, are you running any races? Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you doing? And like, there's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that unless there's someone else there, it's not like a general cultural topic of conversation, if that makes sense, right? Like it's not the news. It's not,
I mean, people talk about travel.
They do, but
yeah, you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
My third question, and I'm very curious to know what this one is, because we do our most embarrassing travel moments as our wrap up each year, but outside of that, I mean, what is your most embarrassing travel moment ever? Does it come to mind, or do you have to think about it?
No, it immediately comes to mind.
Okay.
I don't know if I've shared this on the...
I think you have shared that one.
It was an incident that happened. Is this why you asked this question?
No, honestly.
Do you want me to relive this?
No. But yeah, just do it. Yeah.
It was an incident that happened on our honeymoon, no less. I was in the bathroom on the airplane and we hit turbulence. And that is the amount of detail that I am comfortable going into.
Yeah, I was wondering why it took a long time, but
that was yes.
Yeah, but like nobody knew about that other than like you and me, and now you've admitted it to the podcast, so everyone listening to this podcast. What?
It was just that was my most embarrassing moment.
Okay. Real embarrassing one, because this happened in a public way, was when I tried to balance. I was sitting cross-legged after we had seen Machu Picchu.
Oh, this was so funny.
And we were just sitting in the lobby waiting for our guide to pick us up. And I'm just on my phone messing around. And for whatever reason, I decided to put my scalding hot cocoa tea in its cup, balance it on my knee on my leg while I was sitting cross-legged. And of course, the scalding hot tea knocks over, spills in my lap. It's truly like boiling hot. I start screaming various
expletives.
At the same time, the guide walks in, and then there was like several people in the lobby. There was the receptionist. It was a whole thing, and everyone was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, it just burned the crap out of my legs." Yeah, that was really embarrassing because that was just such a public thing that happened. And then here I am screaming like expletives, like scaring everybody in the lobby as I throw my cup across the lobby since it's scalding hot. It was a whole thing. But also, I don't know if I mentioned this one on the podcast ever. I have a ton of embarrassing moments.
Are we just running down a list here?
No. The one where I forgot to mention this in the last year one. Remember when like we get ready to go on our gorilla trek and our guide Milton was like, "Okay, you guys go have fun." And so I did like a little like jump sidekick in the air, like, "Yay." And then like Milton was like, he was our driver and our guide, and he was like, "Yes, Catherine, good job." And then I immediately land, take a step, and face plant on the trail. And then he's like, "Oh no, Catherine." And everyone saw me.
It was such a successive high and low. The yes, Catherine. Yeah. Oh no, Catherine.
Like it was so bad. Yeah, because I was so excited. So I did like a little leap in the air. I'm like, "Let's do this." But realizing that we're also going downhill, I trip right on my face. And everyone in our group saw that. Yep. So good times. Oh no, Catherine.
My third question is, can you ever go back?
To a place that you've like loved.
You know the saying, like, you can never go back? Can you ever go back?
No, but that's not always a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
The thing that came to my head was Paris.
Okay.
All right. I fell in love with Paris the second time I visited it, when it was in the spring and it was beautiful and everything's lovely. And I fell in love with it even more going with you.
That's because I was there.
No, well, yeah, it was romantic, but also like we did some more off the beaten path things. And
yeah.
It was different, but like, so you can't go back to what that exact moment in time was, but that's not always a bad thing.
That's a good point. So I also put no. Mm-hmm. And I think the tough thing, and you and I have had this conversation before too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're thinking of like your top travel memories, that ranking or what have you obviously changes with different trips that you take, and it also gets harder to rank certain things. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a weird thought that like one of your absolute best travel memories could like not even sniff like your top 5 or your top 10, let's say 10 years later. Mm-hmm. Right? So where something is like so magical and new, when you first go, if you go at a different time in your life, or if you go like with a different perspective or maybe with more experience or what have you, you're not going to be able to return to that place with that like mental perspective, I think. And I think that is like the toughest thing, right? Is like,
well, and it's hard when you've seen it and like you're seeing it again, so it's not that first time seeing something. Yeah, I get it. Like I love like in France again, like Annecy, in the Alps. I remember going when I was studying abroad. I was in a totally different mindset then, different time of year, went with different people. You know, here I was living in the Alps, not knowing much about the Savoie like wine region and all that stuff, and all the cool things around where I was living. Until later on, and now I go back and I'm like, wow, like I wish I had known this then. Yeah. But like I loved Annecy even more the last time I went. It's just as beautiful and like, sure. I don't know. Yeah, like perspective can sometimes make it a little bit better.
I think perspective can heighten an experience, but I think like it can make you more appreciative of something. Like, yeah, you know what? Like I thought that this was pretty cool back then, and yeah, it is still pretty cool. Yeah. But I think it can also, unfortunately, have the opposite effect that, like, man, this was really cool because, like, it was, like, one of the first things I did, if that makes sense. And, like, you can never go back. I don't know.
Well, and it's hard, too, because I remember going to, like, Dubrovnik before, like, all the crazy Game of Thrones stuff. It was super cheap to go walk on the city walls. It was beautiful. It wasn't crowded. It was just a gorgeous time to go in the middle of summer with one of my friends. And now it is like, it's like more expensive now. It's like a hotspot destination. It's very crowded. So it's different. Like over tourism eventually over time can certainly change that too. So it's both good and bad.
It is both good and bad.
Yeah.
All right. What's your next question?
What are the top 5 national parks you'd most like to visit?
Yosemite.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, Yellowstone, Acadia,
Okay.
American Samoa,
Okay.
Arches.
Okay.
Is Redwoods a national park or is that a national forest?
I can't remember.
Or is that in Yosemite?
No, I think Redwoods is its own. I think it's Muir Woods is like the national monument. And then you have, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure about that.
Hold on. So I'm
Okay.
thinking, what have I said so far? Because I may need to switch some of these.
Okay. You've said Acadia. You've said American Samoa, Arches, and Yellowstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yellowstone is still on there.
Okay.
Acadia is going to still be on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking it up right now. And Redwood National and State Parks. So I'm going to say Redwood National Park.
Okay.
So now I'm at 3.
Mm-hmm.
What were my other 2? American Samoa and Arches.
Yep.
I'm going to take out Arches.
Okay.
And I'm going to put Katmai in.
Okay.
And I'm going to take out American Samoa.
Okay.
And I'm going to put Grand Canyon in.
Nice.
So, final answer, Grand Canyon, Katmai, Yosemite, Redwoods, and Acadia.
Okay.
What are your 5?
Mine is Yellowstone,
Okay.
Olympic.
Okay.
I really want to go see the Hoh Rainforest. White Sands National Park,
Okay.
Katmai National Park,
Okay.
and man, you've got some good ones too. Because I'm thinking of like Utah.
I named the
and
best 5 that I haven't been to yet.
I'd say Bryce Canyon in Utah. It's got some pretty cool hikes.
You haven't been to Denali.
Yeah, I know.
You're good with leaving Denali off the list?
Well, I want to go to Katmai. I want like a guaranteed grizzly sighting.
There is no such thing as a guaranteed
true. That's
bear
very true.
sighting when you were
But
there.
I'm sorry, when they have an Instagram page devoted to Fat Bear Week, I gotta see it for myself in person.
This is a bonus question, but do you believe in travel? Like, even though we're married, do you still like believe in the value of like solo travel? This is not a question of mine.
I'm doing solo travel this year.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that, and I would like to actually visit Katmai on my own so that I have a
Will you
guaranteed
stop
bear
it?
sighting.
I actually think I had a dream that we saw a bunch of bears or something. I don't know why.
That was a dream, obviously, because that would never happen with you.
Okay.
My next question is, now that you are in your 30s,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever regret carry-on only?
No, I love carry-on only. I regret when I studied abroad packing 2 giant suitcases, a carry-on and a computer bag. And I didn't wear like half of the clothes I brought and like none of the high-heeled shoes that I brought because it's really hard to walk on cobblestone streets in, stilettos. So I wish I had done maybe not carry-on at that point because I was living there for 6 months, but like, less.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you regret carry-on only?
No, I like carry-on only other than hiking trips. Because then I have a backpack and a hiking backpack. And I feel like the only reason I bring a hiking backpack is that you have this fear that somehow we are going to get separated from the group and be stranded out in the wilderness for 5 days.
No, because
and need
sometimes we might end
16
up
and
having
need
a 17-mile hike where we need a crap ton of water and snacks and like various layers of clothing because it starts out being like freezing and then it gets up to like 70 or 80 Fahrenheit during the day. So, no, we have that for a reason.
Yeah, that's the only time that I don't want to say I regret it.
This
but
is why we have carry-on like suitcases.
Yeah.
So that we can just take our hiking backpack and our carry-on.
But I like my travel backpack better than my carry-on suitcase. Sorry.
I like my suitcase better.
Well,
It's nice to not have like all that stuff on your back, because then I also take a smaller backpack to put like my camera and
Yeah.
like my purse and stuff in.
so like that's the only time that I kind of like regret carry-on only is like hiking trips, because then I have like 2 backpacks and I'm always like, I don't know, like I'm self-conscious about it on the plane. But like I also
Smacking everybody in the aisle.
No, I'm not. I'm always like very considerate.
Yeah.
But I also think that like I'm probably like more in my head about that than anything. And like, I mean, like I'm going to be respectful to people, but I also don't really care, if that makes sense. What is your last question?
My last question is pretty simple. Which sucks more, packing or unpacking, and why?
Unpacking.
Why?
Because I'm never in the mood to do it. Like you get home and like a lot of the time all I want to do is go to bed.
Yeah.
Because like if we're arriving late at night, I actually really like packing. I like to do a packing list. I like to make like a list of what we're going to do each day and what I'm going to need each day. Like it's kind of like a fun little puzzle for me. I don't like unpacking.
Mine is the opposite. I hate packing.
That's because you don't make a list?
No, because I still forget things when I do a list. I hate packing because I'm always worried about forgetting something. Even with a list, you can forget to type something.
Yeah, but like what's the worst thing that can happen? You just buy it there.
But what if I forget like a medication?
Well, then you forget a medication.
Okay. All right. Or like, I don't know. I'm always afraid I'm going to like forget something. And then it just takes me a long time because I have to think of like, okay, well, you know, we have hiking stuff, or we have like regular clothes, or we have like, we're going to go to a nice dinner, or like we're going to, I need my camera and I have to make sure everything's charged. And then I always forget to charge it ahead of time. So I have to like charge it the day we're packing and like go through that. And it's just such a process. I just hate it. And then trying to get it all to fit in your bag and everything. And I like unpacking because all you have to do is just like take it all out, you know, put it back in its place instead of like taking it from its place and figuring it out. So that's my take.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My last question is name an experience that exceeded, met, and fell short of your expectations.
At the same time?
No.
I was like, okay.
An experience for each. So start with one that exceeded your expectations.
The Amazon rainforest.
Okay.
I thought Machu Picchu was going to be the coolest thing we did in Peru. It turned out the Amazon was. It was fantastic, gorgeous, saw lots of wildlife, saw 2 jaguars, which was really cool. Capybara, love a good capybara. I don't know, it's just really cool to be that in touch with nature and all the things that we saw there, the macaws, just so much wildlife, and it was just absolutely incredible. So that definitely exceeded any expectations I had because I was really nervous about the whole 4th wall being open.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about something that met your expectations? Either like you had low expectations and like it met those, or you had like you were like building this up and it rose to the occasion, sort of thing.
I would say gorilla trekking.
Okay.
Like I had high expectations for it. Don't get me wrong, and
okay,
it met those. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, and then something that fell short of your expectations.
So this was tough. Okay. The whole I said was like Toronto, and I just think that was poor planning on our part.
I do too.
That has fallen short of my expectations.
Yeah.
I guess like Milan I can't get into.
Okay.
Like you feel like, oh, it's going to have some great food. It's a beautiful city. The Duomo's cool, but like, I don't know. I just can't get into it as much as like, obviously Rome has a lot of really cool stuff. I loved everywhere else we went in Italy, but yeah.
Okay. So Milan as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I've been to Milan quite a few times
Don't
too.
apologize
and I'm
to
still
me.
like, the weather's not as nice. Like,
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't like hate it or anything, but it's just not it's not really for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Angkor Wat exceeded my expectations.
Okay.
This was the first thing that came to mind too for that. I didn't really know what to expect. I would say that that Angkor Wat like exceeded my expectations the most. It was just like absolutely incredible. It's still one of my favorite things that I've ever done while traveling. And it was just kind of like a heightened experience that I did not anticipate having there. Gorilla trekking met my expectations. And my expectations were sky freaking high. So
and
much.
That can be nerve-wracking because you're like, oh crap, what if it sucks? And here I am building this up in my head like it's going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, I think I even said it on the on like an episode where I had built it up so much in my head. It was the thing I wanted to do. And it had every opportunity to fall short of expectations. And it absolutely met them.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what about your least?
Fell short was the Colosseum.
Oh, that's sad.
It is sad. And I'm thinking about it and like...
I liked the Colosseum.
Oh, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. But
You thought it was going to be like way cooler.
I didn't... I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
I didn't like the group tour aspect of it. I think I would have appreciated it more if it were just the two of us with a guide. And I think that is like kind of what I am falling into as of late, is like the more I travel, the more that like I want to experience things on my own terms, not necessarily on like others' terms. So I think that if it were just the two of us and we had our own guide that like we could ask our own questions to, we could go at our own pace, like they could like do like a little bit of a deeper dive. I think it would have been better. I just think that like part of it was like I was getting really frustrated with the group that we were in.
Okay. That's fair.
And like I think that it just like broke it up for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that unfortunately like it didn't rise to my expectations for that.
That's fair. Well, that's it.
That's it.
That's our questions, our 10 off-the-cuff travel questions, just random questions. But yeah, we'd like to know what your thoughts are. What are your answers to these questions? You can always message us on Twitter at WW Instagram at Worldwide Honeymoon, or email kat@worldwidehoneymoon.com. But thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It takes less than a few minutes and really helps other people find us. Also, if you're enjoying this awesome free information on both the blog and podcast, when you're booking your next trip, head over to worldwidehoneymoon.com/resources and use the links provided. We earn a small commission at no cost to you when you book through these links, and these are all brands and companies we know, love, and use, like Skyscanner for finding the best flight prices, World Nomads for the best travel insurance, TripAdvisor for hotel bookings and reviews, and even Amazon for all of your travel purchases.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you go, remember to make every day a worldwide honeymoon.